Walibi Belgium is the largest theme park in all of Belgium. This park has been snake-bitten in recent years with ride closures, noise complaints, and flooding, yet they've persevered. Millions of dollars were spent retheming the park and adding new rides, most notably a signature coaster in Kondaa. Now, Walibi Belgium is one of the premier parks in all of Europe. Find out everything you need to know about this park in this review. Today, there are 3 Walibi parks across Europe, but the Belgian park is the original. This park opened in 1975 as just Walibi. The name was derived from the first 2 letters of 3 local towns, Wavre, Limel, and Bierge. As the chain acquired parks, they updated the name to Walibi Wavre in 1982. Wavre is the town the park is physically located in. In 1998, Premier Parks purchased the park. This chain also owned Six Flags at the time, so for the 2001 season, the park was rebranded as Six Flags Belgium. This was accompanied by 15 new rides, including 2 new roller coasters. With Six Flags heading towards bankruptcy a few years later, the Walibi parks were sold to Palomon Capital Partners after the 2004 season. This led to the Wavre park being renamed Walibi Belgium. Then in 2006, the Walibi parks were again sold, this time to Compagnie des Alpes or CDA. They have owned the park ever since. And they have had a lot of headaches to deal with. One, CDA's first major addition after the acquisition was one of the most unreliable and problematic theme park attractions of all time. This would be the infamous Vertigo. This was the prototype mountain glider from Doppelmayr. The ride's opening was delayed an entire year to 2007, and when it did open, Vertigo barely operated. This led to the ride closing in 2008. 2. The park has had to deal with flooding. Heavy rainfall caused floods in 2010 that thankfully caused no major damage. The same could not be said about flooding in July of 2021. This caused enough damage to keep Walibi Belgium closed for months. 3, and arguably most problematic, noise complaints came from neighbors. The east side of the park borders a residential street. This has caused ride removals, ride modifications, and operational changes. The park is no longer allowed to build any large outdoor attractions to the left of the lake. This is why newer additions on this half of the park have been enclosed or partially enclosed. These noise levels have led to the removal of some rides such as the looping ship. Others have had to be modified. Sound walls were added behind rides, even on ones as small as Salsa y Fiesta, which are the teacups. The park added special wheels and sand to the supports of their Vekoma Boomerang and Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. But these 2 coasters were still deemed too loud by locals. The shuttle loop was partially enclosed in 1999 due to noise issues. The ride was ultimately closed from 2009 to 2013. When it reopened as Psyche Underground, it was completely enclosed, which satisfied locals. Now, they're hoping for Cobra, the Vekoma Boomerang, to be enclosed as well, or completely relocated. Then, prior to the 2022 season, the park's operational permit for any ride added after the 2015 season was temporarily revoked due to a technicality. Due to a post office strike, the permit had been late. Walibi had to scramble to get this corrected to avoid keeping their newest rides shuttered up. But noise issues have extended beyond just the rides. Walibi is limited to how loud music can be in sections of the park. This has also impacted the park's operational hours. The park routinely closes by 6 or 7 p.m. now, and closing time represents the last time a ride cycles, so lines will need to close well before that in busy days. The park is only open late on a few specific days annually. But Walibi Belgium has been able to overcome all these issues, and the park is better than ever. The park is in the midst of a €100 million expansion plan. This has included the addition of multiple roller coasters, most notably an intimate mega coaster in Kondaa. Then, 75% of the park was also rethemed. The infusion of thrills and theming have really elevated this park in my opinion. People have clearly been receptive because this park brings in the crowds. It's not uncommon to see all the major coasters with 30 to 60 minute waits daily. That can be particularly problematic with this park's limited hours. Not only will you want to spend a full day here anyway, but I think it's necessary if you want to hit everything. There are 2 ways to navigate this park efficiently. The first is to use the Speedy Pass skip the line system. This is an extra fee, but it will allow you to maximize your day. It's available for all major attractions. The unlimited option costs roughly €50 as of 2022. You weirdly cannot buy this online though. You need to buy it in person. The one catch with Speedy Pass is that Kondaa was a one-time only in 2021 and 2022. I imagine this coaster will be switched to unlimited in future seasons. You alternatively can purchase single shots for €5 for most rides. While there was a single shot for Kondaa listed online for €10, the park wouldn't actually sell them to you. The second is to use single rider lines. For the rides that offer them, they were faster than Speedy Pass in many instances. The park's three most popular coasters in Kondaa, Tiki Waka, and Pulsar all offer single rider lines. I believe they're also available for the two main dark rides, but I could be mistaken. Therefore, if you want every credit and don't have Speedy Pass, I would prioritize the Vekoma coasters in the morning. I would start with Loop-Garou because it's a unique layout and a genuinely good ride in my opinion. The operations at this park are above average. The ride crews load rides very quickly. I was particularly impressed by Kondaa's crew. Then the availability of single rider lines maximizes the throughputs of these rides and also helps people who don't mind riding alone. The downside is that this can make seat selection a bit tricky. Most rides only allow enough people into the station to fill the next train, so several of the attractions have first come or assigned seating. A few attendants were willing to honor seating requests though. Then Kondaa thankfully is the one ride with a designated queue for the front and back rows. From what I've heard, this park usually runs multiple trains in all the coasters. However, I visited on a day with lots of rain and threats of thunderstorms. Due to the lower attendance, most coasters ran just one train. This meant lines were still lengthy even on a quieter day, which still made Speedy Pass a worthwhile investment. But I was just thankful the park and its rides were open. Many parks in America would have closed early or not even opened with that type of forecast. What surprised me most about this park was its appearance. This is a really nice looking park. You have a lot of natural beauty. There's no shortage of trees and gardens around the park. Then the main layout circles around a giant lake that creates some really nice vantage points of the park's attractions. It also makes the park fairly easy to navigate. The only tricky parts are the small loop over by Pulsar, and then Vampire is awkwardly located all by itself on a dead-end pathway. Multiple rides have their own designated plazas like this, and in some cases custom soundtracks that create a lot of energy and anticipation. Several attractions have thematic elements or enclosed sections that boost their overall appearance. In general, this park was much better in the theming department than I expected. This was part of the recent expansion. There are some nicely themed areas with two in particular that shine most. You have Exotic World, which has an adventure and Polynesian vibe. This is the park's newest section, so it was designed from the start to have a cohesive aesthetic. I also really like the Western themed area. A lot of parks have this theme, but it's done well here between the architecture and selected color palettes. Now let's talk about the rides. This park is a sizable coaster collection. There are 9 in total. The park's most recent coaster in Kondaa was desperately needed. Before this Intamin Mega Coaster opened, the park lacked that signature coaster. Kondaa more than satisfies in that department. It is one of the best coasters in all of Europe. The ride feels like the cross of your traditional Intamin hypercoaster and a Rocky Mountain construction hybrid. The outward leg has some incredible airtime moments. The first drop is one of the best out there. It delivers powerful ejector airtime plus wicked laterals. Then the next 2 camelbacks are gigantic and have incredible and sustained ejector airtime. Then the second half stays low to the ground, offering more rapid bursts of ejector airtime, more similar to what you get on an RMC. Just replace the occasional 0G roll with one of those bunny hills in the Intamin Hypers that still manage to give sustained ejector. The ride has incredible pacing and it's impeccably smooth, making it a true powerhouse. Check out my review for more. The supporting cast is quite diverse. You have 2 launch shuttle coasters. The newer of the 2 is Pulsar, which was the prototype Mach Power Splash. While Mach isn't known for their launches, the ones on Pulsar have some punch to them, particularly that final backwards one. Then you also have some fun airtime and weightlessness on the bunny hill and spikes. Lastly, you have a giant final splash. Your upper body will get very wet in the end seats, but you'll come off fairly dry in the inside seats, so choose wisely. See my review for more details. Psyche Underground is the most unique Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. The ride has a catchy soundtrack and cool lighting effects, but it doesn't have the same power as the others. That ties back to the ride's refurbishment by Gerstlauer. Gerstlauer has made some powerful LSM launches, but they gave Psyche an LIM launch with only some mild force to it. I think the older Schwarzkopf flywheel or weight drop launches have more power to them. Then this one brakes hard going through the station, killing the final spike. The vertical loop is still special though. It has great Gs and it's super disorienting in the dark. Then the first spike still has good weightlessness. Then this park is a trio of Vekomas that don't get too much love. I genuinely like Loop-Garou though. This is the oldest remaining Vekoma wood coaster. It is bumpy, so I would advise avoiding a wheel seat, or the back of a car. But in the other seats, it's tolerable because of the super cushiony seats. That allows me to enjoy the layout, which I actually think is quite good. There's some nice airtime in the bunny hills and camelbacks, particularly in that back car. As I said in my review, this is the park's second best coaster. Cobra is your typical Vekoma boomerang. This one still has the over-the-shoulder restraints, but is smooth enough minus one transition in the Cobra roll. Then per usual, you have the enjoyable drops and 3 intense inversions that'll pile on the positives going both forwards and backwards. Vampire is a vile Vekoma SLC. The bulky harnesses will play rock'em sock'em robots with your head. The ride has some snappy inversions, but I would advise skipping this one unless the park gives it some new trains in the future. For family coasters, you have 2 solid options. Tiki Waka is a cool looking Gerstlauer bobsled. This Wild Mouse variant has a great setting above pathways in the water. The ride is super smooth, and there are some solid spots of laterals. The one downside with this coaster is that it features several bunny hills, but none of them offer airtime. That's a shame because the other Gerstlauer bobsleds usually deliver in this department. Calamity Mine is the park's best themed coaster. This Vekoma mine train would fit in at a Disney park between the rock mountain and the mining equipment that you travel past. Those visuals carry the experience because the layout itself is light on the forces and thrills, which I did note in my review. The final coaster is Fun Pilot. This is a Zier Jr. coaster, and it is one of the more comfortable ones out there between its smooth track work and accommodating trains. This is a great ride for kids, especially because their parents will have no trouble joining them. On that note, let's talk about the kids' areas. There are 2 separate ones on opposite sides of the lake. I like how they're spread out and each one has 8 or so rides. And the one on the left side of the lake has a giant play area that seemed to be a big hit with kids. Kids will also be able to tag along for the dark rides. This park is surprisingly strong in this area. The crown jewel of their collection is Challenge of Tutankhamun. This is one of the best shooting dark rides out there. This shooting mechanism works great. You have laser sights and all the targets work. Then you uniquely get one of 2 possible endings depending how well you score. But what makes this ride truly special are all the detailed set pieces. This Egyptian themed ride has large physical sets, and some surprising practical effects too, like fire. I cannot believe this ride was built during the Six Flags regime. It offers a level of immersion unseen on any of their other rides. Popcorn Revenge is the park's second shooter. This one is entirely screen-based, which is fine to differentiate itself from Challenge of Tut. The targets are plentiful, and the guns are responsive. Then you have a unique theme. You move through a movie theater and see different film genres, reenacted by popcorn. Is it goofy? Sure is. But is it fun? Oh yes. Then Palace du Genie is a Vekoma madhouse. You have a pre-show establishing the story of an angry genie. Then the main ride has some music and lighting effects, and the inverting effect is mighty convincing between the rocking seats and the rotating room. Moving on to the water rides, the park is stacked in this area too. I already mentioned Pulsar, but you have some other options too. Flashback is a really good mock flume. You have a tunnel with party lights. Then you have 2 great drops, one backwards and a sizable double down. The latter has some nice floater airtime in the second hump. Just watch out for the landing though because this flume seats are uncomfortably uncushioned. Raja River is a decent river rapids ride from Intamin. This one has a scenic course. The rapids aren't too extreme in this one, but there are a few notable elements. There's a section with a wave machine that'll have your raft bouncing uncontrollably. Then if you want to get soaked, you're in luck because there are these giant water cannons at the end that'll drench your upper half. Then if you want something more leisurely, you have the Gold River Adventure slow-moving boat ride. This type of attraction is quite common in European theme parks. Next door to Walibi Belgium is Aqualibi, an indoor water park. I think this was a smart choice to allow year-round operations. The park looks to have a nice atmosphere, but I skipped it because the slide lineup didn't appear to have any standout attractions. Moving back to the dry park, Walibi has an enjoyable collection of flat rides. You have plenty of spinning rides. None are standouts, but they're peppered throughout the park. Then you have two notable thrill rides. The best of the bunch is Dalton Terror. This 25-story tall intimate drop tower gives a wonderful aerial view of the park. Then the drop packs a wallop. You are released with no warning, get a solid stomach drop sensation, and then you float the whole way down. Then you have a Huss topspin named Buzzsaw. Since so many of these rides have been removed stateside, I try to ride them whenever possible. The rapid flips are quite forceful, while the slower rotation juxtaposes that power with hang time. I know the park has some live entertainment, but I chose to focus on the rides during my lone day there. The one area where I think this park really needs to improve is the food department. I tried 4 different items here, at 4 different places. I tried a croissant, fish and chips, pizza, and a hot dog. They weren't a good value, and lackluster at best in terms of quality. If any locals know of better food options here, definitely let me know down in the comments. So do I recommend Walibi Belgium? Absolutely. This place does a lot of things well. From the beauty, to the theming, to the rides, it is a very well-rounded park now. Then you have that world-class coaster in Kondaa that should automatically put the park in the bucket list of most coaster enthusiasts. I deliberately waited until that coaster opened to make my first visit to this park, and I'm glad I did. It really cemented this place as a great park by giving them a top-tier attraction. I think the park's admission price is more than fair given the offerings. As of 2022, day tickets cost €42. Then if you buy one of the premium season passes, they come with multiple skip-the-line passes. The highest tier is unlimited use of the Speedy Pass queue, which is a really attractive perk. And this park is quite easy to get to as well. From Brussels, it is an hour train ride to the nearby Bierge-Walibi station, or a half-hour drive. And if you're on a theme park road trip, there are several other notable parks within a 2-hour drive in multiple directions. So those are my thoughts on Walibi Belgium. What are your thoughts on this theme park? Do you agree Kondaa completed this park's ride lineup? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, since there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Compagnie Coaster. Thanks for watching.